So it looks like Justin, aka Glenn Close, is flying off the hinges. Let's talk about it, y'all. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is the Haves and the Have-Nots Season 7, Episode 16. And the name of this episode is Second Chances. And let me say, there were a few gag moments in this episode, and I can't wait to talk about it. So let's begin. The episode opens up where David goes to view the body at the hospital. Comes to find out the body is not Jeffrey. And we kind of got that illusion from the last episode. And he just flies off the hinges. And Keisha, he's like, you said it was my son. You said it was my son. Because David is just irate. And Madison's like, I'm sorry. I thought it was him. I apologize. And I'm like, well, Madison, I understood your intentions. But you were out of line because the doctor was supposed to call the family. And due to the fact that you're emotionally invested in Jeffrey, you made a bad move. And Keisha comes up and says, well, it actually was not Jeffrey's address. It wasn't Justin's address. It was the apartment next door that this happened. And it was another black man and a white man who got into a shooting incident. And he just tells Madison that he's fired, and Madison just breaks down crying. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, Madison, you kind of brought that on yourself, bruh. But it goes to show that he really does care about Jeffrey. Because obviously Jeffrey don't care about Jeffrey. So that was just crazy. So then we get the scene at Spanish Marsh Trail. Because remember, Veronica went over there and someone opened the door. It was Jeffrey. And she pretty much tells Jeffrey, you're leaving here. But in a way, she's shocked that he's still alive because she went there to see if her son was actually dead. And here it is, her son is alive and living color right in front of her. And she's trying to be all sentimental, and Jeffrey ain't trying to deal with all that shit. He's like, what, look, I'm fine, I'm here, I'm okay. And she's like, you're leaving here. And he's like, oh, I was leaving anyway. And then Justin's like, please don't. She's like, you put a fucking gun to my head. And it turns out that both of the guns had blanks. And you say, you really think this shit is, you really think this shit is okay? He's like, I'm sorry, man. It was just a joke. I'm like, no, it wasn't no damn joke. It was your way of keeping Jeffrey under your control. Like, Glenn Close has literally lost all of her marbles. But I have to say, now that this story is moving, I somewhat feel sorry for Glenn Close. Because due to the fact that Veronica literally pulled the rug from under him and exposed him to his wife, his mother, his precinct, everybody now knows about Justin's, addiction to Cocoa Puffs. And it's completely turned his life upside down, and Veronica was responsible for that. So that is the reason why Jeffrey has kind of been sucked into Justin's world, because he feels sorry for Justin. But Jeffrey, you need to get a backbone, bruh, because this fool was literally taking you for a ride, and he was taking you on a ride straight to hell. So all of a sudden, she was saying, so pretty much he kind of walked out because Jeffrey's like, I'm done with this shit. So it literally took him nearly pulling a bullet to your head and damn near killing you for you to realize that you need to leave this. This is too much. You should have fucking left when you saw all your damn pictures every damn where, looking like something out of a damn thriller or horror movie. But I digress. So he leaves, and then all of a sudden, she's like, yeah, you better stay away from my son, little girl. And then he just like, won't you shut up, bitch? I lost everything because of you. And she's like, you still got your life, don't you? And he's like, no, I don't have a life unless Jeffrey's a part of it. And she's like, okay, I'll remember that. They go out to the parking lot. She done parked where she's blocking, you know, one of the residents from parking her car. The lady is like, lady, can you please move your car? And Veronica was just all kind of disrespectful, like, bitch, don't you see I'm talking to my son? So she's talking to Jeffrey. She's trying to mother him, and Jeffrey's pushing away like, look, just leave me alone. I'm fine, all right? She's like, look, I need to talk to you. And he's like, look, I want to leave. Move your damn car. And she's like, I'm not moving my car unless I talk to you. And he's like, well, fine, we'll be here all day. And then the lady was like, oh, I'm going to go get the building manager. She said, go ahead and get the building manager, bitch. Gone. She comes back. The damn building manager is Justin. Justin is living there rent-free because he's an officer and he's building security. So he comes in and is like, lady, move your car. She's like, oh, this fool? Please. You're the head of security? He's like, yes, I'm the head of security, and ma'am, could you please move your car? And she's like, so this is what's going on? This is what you've been deduced to? And he's like, I'm still an officer. And she was like, no, you used to be an officer. And then he keeps telling her to move your car. And she says, what you gonna do, little girl? Huh? What you gonna do? What you gonna do now, little bitch? And the next thing you know, Glenn Close did the straight up pimp backhand and slapped the dog shit out of Veronica. And she's, oh, and he's like, who the bitch now? And they start fighting, and Jeffrey kind of, attacks Justin like, what the hell is wrong with you? And they, all three of them, Justin, Jeffrey, and Veronica, are literally fighting. And the lady just panics. She's like, oh, I'm going to get on my phone and I'm going to call the real police. It was just too much for her. And then finally, David shows up and breaks up everything. And Veronica is like, that thing over there hit me, David. He put his hands on me. And your damn son allowed it to happen. And Jeffrey's like, no, the hell I didn't. He's like, oh, so you just think it's okay for him to put his hands on me, and you just sat back and let him do it? He's like, I didn't let him do nothing, but you need to move your damn car. And then she looked at Jeffrey and was like, I wish he would have killed your ass. I'm like, oh, you evil bitch. You actually wish death on your son, and that definitely pissed David off. And David is literally fighting to not strangle her ass. He's like, Veronica, you need to calm down. Like, you need to calm down. Go home, get yourself together. And she was like, okay. It's like, little girl, you hit the wrong bitch. The wrong bitch. And got in her car and pulled off. And all of a sudden, Justin feeling himself because he done slap Veronica, he tells David, like, shoot, I did something that you was afraid to do. I slapped that bitch and I put her in her place. Obviously something you ain't never done. I'm like, bruh, you just gave her a pimp slap. David knocked her ass across the room. And obviously that didn't set her straight. So Veronica is just a ticking time bomb. And the only way you're going to stop her is putting her in the ground, which is David's plan. David wants to kill her ass. So he pretty much tells Justin, get the hell out of here. So Justin leaves and he tries to tell, Jeffrey, you need to come home. He's like, yeah, I'll go home to pack my stuff, but I'm not staying there with you as long as you dating mom. And she's like, but that boy is dangerous. And it's like, and she isn't? So, yeah, he's kind of seeing things like, Dad, how the hell you going to tell me to stay away from this man? And yet, you're married to the same shit. Because Veronica and Justin are literally two heads of the same coin. It's just that Justin is the gay version of Veronica. He's just as evil, just as treacherous, and just as controlling. And if anything, Veronica made him worse. He was already that beforehand, but after Veronica pulled that rug from under him, he got worse. And he's trying to plead with Jeffrey, let's just go home and let's talk about it, but don't do anything. Don't leave yet. Let's talk first, and we can talk more once we get home. So Jeffrey gets in his car and he ends up leaving. So then we get a scene with RK. RK finally brings the car back to the cryo residence. He talks to Wyatt through the balcony or whatever, and he's saying that, yo, won't you throw it up here? And he's like, you got the money? He's like, yeah, I got something, just throw it up here. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna play a little knock knock today. Let me knock on the door and see what's good. And Wyatt panics because he knows damn well, you know, if that doorbell rings, Jim is gonna answer it. And here it is. He tried to rush to the door because RK was coming to the door. Jim beat him to it, and then all of a sudden RK just walked his ass up in the damn house. Like, RK is so fucking disrespectful as shit. And I'm like, RK, you're gonna be happy that somebody beat the brakes off your ass. And pretty much he was saying that you know, you took my wife's car last night. And RK was like, yeah, I did. He's like, and I told you not to. And he says, but she said I could. And he's like, but I told you couldn't. And he's like, well, look, you didn't give me the car. You didn't let me have the money. How was I going to get home? He's like, how'd you get the keys? And he says, your boy over here. And he's like, Wyatt, what are you thinking? He's like, yeah, what were you thinking, Wyatt? And Jim was like, yo, shut the hell up. I'm talking to my son. And he's like, and you need to get the hell out of my house. And RK's like, no. He's like, what the hell is going on? He's like, look, I'm so sick of being trapped in this house. You know, I wanted a friend and I was gonna hang out with him. He's like, you don't even know this fool, and get the hell out of my house. And he's like, and then like RK just kind of like snugged at him, and he was like, if you don't get your ass up out my house. And I was like, RK, you need to stop playing, because RK is just awesome other shit. Like, RK is in his mind that he can't be touched, and he's just a trip. So then after that whole thing goes down, you know, RK's walking out, and Wyatt goes to the balcony and talks to RK again. And he's like, look, he's like, man, I ain't got time for this bullshit, man. He's like, look, you know, I got you. He's like, you got the money? Because if you ain't got no money, I ain't giving you enough. He's like, no, but I got one of my mother's watches that I can give you. He goes into Catherine's jewelry set, gets a Rolex, throws it down to RK, and RK actually throws him up some coke. So, yeah, RK actually did get him some drugs. And he says that, hey, you give me some more valuable shit, I can get you more. Because damn Wyatt is like, this it? I'm like, bruh, seriously? Junkie motherfucker, I swear. That damn Wyatt gets on my nerves. He be doing too much. So that went down. So yeah, RK actually did get some drugs from him because he was in the hood with the car talking to his boys. I think that's where he made the score. So RK sees that this is a way for him to get some money, you know, get Wyatt high, and I can just get a whole bunch of shit. So I was like, oh damn. And then RK was just giving like straight hood nigga vibes when he did that shit. I was like, wow. So yeah, we starting to see a real treacherous side to RK even more so. Then we get a scene with Charles and Candace. They go to Charles's mansion. She admires the decor and everything, and she says that we kind of got similar taste. And she sees a picture of his wife, and she says his wife was beautiful, and she says that you still love her. And he was like, well, how do you know that? He says, because you say her name in your sleep. And he was saying, yeah, it's kind of the same thing with your son. So we see that that's the connection. They both have lost something near and dear to them. Charles, his wife, Candace, little Quincy. And that's why he was able to be there for her in that time, because he knows what it's like to lose somebody special. And I, for one, knows what that is like as well, you know, with the passing of my grandmother. So I got it, you know, and we see that was the connection. And pretty much, you know, he's saying to Candace that he doesn't want to lose her. And she's like, look, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I got you. So we see they had like a good moment. He shows her around the house, and she noticed she loves the artwork. And he said that his wife was a painter. So, his wife was an artist, and she painted those pictures. So she obviously see that, okay, he's very artistic and he has a taste for the fine things of life. So Candace is even falling for him even more. Little does she know there's something on the horizon that she knows nothing about, but Charles does. So then we get a scene back at the Artesian Hotel. RK has a run-in with Scott. Scott orders a whiskey on the rocks and a beer chaser with a lime and mint muddle, which is the code that he's looking for a good time. Because remember, that's what Broderick told him that was the secret code for someone who was, looking to buy some ass. So he kind of tells RK that he's tired, he's horny, and he's thirsty, and I'm into threesomes and foursomes. And he kind of says that, well, if you looking for that girl over there does that. And he's just pointing to some random girl at the bar. Because I don't even think G is there. Well, at least she ain't been there for a minute. But then he was like, yeah, I'm into foursome. So he's like, okay. And he's like, I'll tell you what. You can come, that guy at the bar, and that girl. All y'all come to my room. And he tells him his room is 4587. And then he says that, hey, I got 10 grand. So I'm trying to have me a good old time. So RK, after this exchange with Scott, goes to tell Rocky. And he pretty much saying that, look, he say he won 10 grand. Like, he got 10 grand and he want us to come there and have a good time. I'm looking to rob that ass. And Rocky was like, well, he looks like he's real smart. And he was like, it don't matter. I'm gonna rob his ass anyway. It ain't nothing but a thing. And, so pretty much Rocky's like, okay, this is a good score. That's what's up. You coming up in the world, RK? Well, let me just get Broderick to cover the bar, and I'll go up there with you. We go to see Broderick. Broderick is drained because Scott done read him his rights. He knows about everything, and Broderick done spilt his beans. And we just look like Broderick is just through, because he knows that Scott got him by the balls. And Rocky goes to talk to him, to tell him to cover the bar, and he can definitely tell something ain't right with Broderick. And he's like, is it Catherine Cryer? Like, see, I told you that shit you was pulling. Did it backfire? He was like, no, it's not her at all. I'm just exhausted. That's all. Like, I'll cover the bar. Just do what you gotta do. So then, back at, we see that Jeffrey finally arrives, at David's house, and Madison is out there, and Madison tells Jeffrey that he's been fired, and he just came to get his things. And then they talk, and Jeffrey lets Madison know that, Justin had pulled a gun on him, and, there were blanks and all of that shit. And they go inside, and while he's about to go get his stuff, Madison was like, we could have been great together. And then here go damn Jeffrey with that conceited ass, vibe that he be giving Madison, like, you really don't know me. And he was like, really? I know you addicted to trouble. So it's plainly obvious you're punishing yourself. You don't love yourself enough to think you deserve more. And I was like, okay, Madison, you better read this, bitch. And then he was saying that, you know what? As I said, you don't know me. Because I've studied this. I know what I'm doing. And he was like, yeah. And it's usually the student that doesn't know his worth. I'm like, oh, you better read, fucking Madison. And then he's like, just go and get your bags and get up out of here and shit. I was like, oh, why you mad, boo-boo kitty? Why you mad? Why you mad, Jeffrey? Because he actually went through the kitty litter and put the shit in your face while you trying to think you golden? Like, dude, what if that gun was loaded? He would have killed your sorry ass. Stupid bitch. I was like, oh, Jeffrey is so fucking cocky that it's ridiculous. Like, boo-boo, you cannot be blowing whistles and waving flags when you literally put your life in danger being stupid and reckless. And all Madison did was just read you your rights. But he ain't want to hear that shit because Jeffrey's full of his fucking self. So then we get a scene with Jim. He's at the house. He calls Lloyd to get $75,000, and Lloyd lets him know, you know I can't do that. Catherine gave me specific instructions not to give you any money. We come to find out Jim only has $3,400 to his name. $3,400. And I'm like, damn. So he's literally been shut out of Catherine's millions. And then he tells him that, look, I got an $8 million transfer on the way. You call me and let me know when it gets there. So we saw that go down. So then we see that after that, Jim, Jim and, Catherine comes in, and she's going off that Broderick is not answering her calls. Like, this is the second message I have left you, Broderick. Call me back now. And then like he was saying that, the way you moving, Catherine, your ass gonna get sued for sexual harassment and all this shit. And then he was like, but we got a problem. And she's like, what's the problem? He said, we need $75,000. And she was like, it seems like that's your problem. He's like, no, actually, it's our problem. Because the Malones got a hit out on Wyatt. And she was like, what kind of hit? He was like, how many other hits do you think there? You think we're talking about a hit record? They're gonna kill him if we don't come up with $75,000. And she was like, is that how much money he spent on drugs? He was like, no. Pain and suffering. This is how the way they do things. So we need to come up with that, or they're gonna put a hit out on Wyatt, and they're gonna kill him. So what you need to do is call Lloyd and get that money, unless you want to bury another child. And he knew that tugged at her heartstrings, because losing Amanda definitely affected her. So she calls Lloyd and she says, I need $75,000 in cash today. I need you to make that happen. And oh yeah, I'll be sending my errand boy over there to pick it up. His name is Jim. You know him. And then he was like, oh, don't say that about him. That's not nice. So, like, putting it out there that Lloyd talking shit about Jim behind his back. And she was like, yeah, I know. But say hi to your wife and the kids for me. Talk to you later. Okay. And she's like, so what you need the money? So, and she's like, and why the hell are you around here, Jim? You need to go some fucking where. Like, damn, don't you got any of your whores that you can go see? Why the hell you here? And he was like, well, unfortunately, the whore that I want is out of town. Talking about Candace. Because I say he got a love-hate relationship with Candace. Candace done put it on him. And we seen ever since season 1, Jim ain't been the same since Candace turned him out and then ran him through the mud. So, and he was like, well, speaking of whores, Catherine, your little whore stole your car, and he brought and then she was like, okay, is it still gone? He's like, no, he brought it back. And she was like, okay, fine, it is what it is. And he was like, you know what, Catherine, you're a piece of work. And she looked at him and was like, and you're a piece of shit, and walked away. I'm like, you better get his ass, Catherine. She so ain't for the bullshit. So then we see Scott, goes to the Attorney General and shares his findings. And he says that, and then he pretty much tells him, you were with her, and he was like, I was robbed. And he was like, were you robbed at gunpoint? Because it looks like you entered the room with her, and then like 8 or 9 minutes, your ass came out fuming. And he was like, how do you know this? He says, they have security like a casino. I mean, shoot, the FBI don't even have that type of security. Like, shoot, they got everything. And then he also says that, yes, and there's also footage of Charles and Candace together. So we got their interactions on camera. And he's like, oh, this is great. This is good. And then he says, but this is a person of interest that came on my radar. and he's talking about Jim Cryer. He was saying that he was a man who was a judge and he was running for governor, but then he got brought down by his mistress, who extorted a lot of money from him, and the mistress was Candace Young. So he was like, oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm gonna go meet him. And then Scott was like, no, it's kind of hot right now. I don't think that's a good move. He's like, oh please, guys like Jim, shoot, that's my cup of tea. I got this. You know, he's my kind of guy. And I'm like, yeah, but that shit might backfire though, so we just gotta keep watching. So then we see that Veronica's at the police station. She's talking to the officer, and she says that I was assaulted by Officer, Justin Lewis, and obviously the officer knows Justin, and she says, I want him picked up immediately. And he's like, well, ma'am, you need to fill out the paperwork. And she was like, I need for him to be picked up. And then she pretty much says that she pulls out some information. She's like, look, I got a restraining order against him, and I also have a pending lawsuit against him, and even in the name of his death, I even have a lawsuit for his estate and against his wife and children. And I'm like, oh, bitch, this damn Veronica is one evil, treacherous ass. And then he was saying like, okay, man, but you still need to fill out the paperwork. She's like, my name is Veronica Harrington. Are you new? He was like, well, yeah, I am. She's like, well, won't you get somebody in here that knows what they're doing? Go on, get. And I'm like, bitch, she's just so fucking rude. So then the captain comes out, and he's like, Miss Harrington. So he knows who she is. And she lets it be known that, look, I was assaulted by Officer Justin Lewis, and I want him picked up now. And she says that, here's the affidavit. It explains everything. So he's like reading it, and she was like, are you gonna get him to jail? He's like, I need to look this over. And she's like, well, damn, do you need like an hour? Like, what the hell? Go ahead and get him. He's like, okay, fine, we'll pick him up. And she's like, okay, good. And I want a phone call. And he says, well, that's not our protocol. She says, well, I'm not your average bitch. I want a phone call. So what she does after the captain leaves, she gets on her phone and says, she calls one of her, henchmen in jail. She says, I want you and 5 of your boys to get arrested. Because she asked him which jail that Justin was going to be at. She says, we're going to bring him here. So he says that, yeah, I need you guys to get arrested, so you can move over to this precinct. And I want you to get some guys that like to rape and maim. And she says, it's $5,000 in it. And all of a sudden the guy was probably like, me each? She's like, hell no, y'all gonna split it between you. I'm like, bitch, you could have gave them $5,000 a piece and you got them doing this treacherous shit. I'm like, Veronica, you wrong as fuck. And that shit just had me gagging. I was like, Veronica is a damn mess. So we pretty much saw that go down. So then the episode ends. Damn, Hannah and Benny are down at the bank, and they're trying to send the money back, and Benny is still in his feelings. I'm like, Benny, you dumb, childish asshole. You done put yourself in so much mess. You putting your family in danger for the fact that, one, you didn't want to give back the money to Jim, and then you owe the Malones money. And he just mad, like, but that's $8 million. She said, yeah, and it's $8 million that don't belong to us, and it don't mean shit if we get it illegally. So we're giving the money back. So, pretty much, she says that, so the bank teller goes into the account and everything, and she says, so how much you trying to send? She says $8 million plus interest. And then, the bank teller was like, how much money you think is in here? And, oh yeah, because she had mentioned, I want to send all of it except for $20,000. And then all of a sudden, she asks her, well, how much money you think you got? She says $8 million plus interest. She says, this account is overdrawn by $4,000. There's no money in here. And that's where the episode ended. I was like, oh shit. Like, because it looks like Jim done got a hold of that $8 million. and supposedly Jim is waiting for it. So I was like, damn, this episode was crazy as shit. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I like to hear your thoughts on this. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with the next episode of the Haves and the Have-Nots. So until next time, everybody, take care.